Otessa, thank you so much for joining us here on Real Talk. Give us a little bit of background about who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. It's wonderful to be here. Let's see, who I am, what do I do? So my name is Otessa Ghadar. I am the founder of the DC Web and Digital Media Film Festival, as well as the founder of 2020 Productions, which is a full-service digital media and web series company. I also am a professor at AU, and I wrote the industry's first web series textbook called The Wild West of Film. And I am the creator of the longest continually running web series called Orange Juice in Bishop's Garden.
Awesome. So what made you interested in online filmmaking and the digital medium, and how did that kind of come to be?
Gosh, that was something that struck me really early on. In particular, I think that some of the genesis of that started while I was in film school. Mm-hmm. So I remember in grad school, they were always talking about the decline of the box office and what this was going to mean for us filmmakers and how terrifying and scary this right. phenomenon. But meanwhile, at the same time that we were hearing about that, I was really sort of enthralled and curious by watching my brother and sister who were much younger. I felt that younger generations were actually consuming more and more media every year at the same time that we were watching this decline in the box office. So my sort of inquisitive mind was like, well, what is this? Why is this happening? Where are they getting these stories? And I was like, they're getting this content online. Right. We're actually watching and enjoying more stories, more content, but all of that, the sort of the gate of that is through IP and internet. And I really wanted to go where I saw the industry booming, but also where I could, kind of reach out to more people. Because as a storyteller, that's really your goal, is to reach as many people as possible and to touch as many people with your stories. So.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's great. And so what made you decide to start Webfest as like a film festival in this area?
So that was an interesting thing, is when I started my web series, that was like 2006, 2007, when it came time to promoting it, generally speaking, the accepted sort of path for that is that you take your work through the festival circuit and then you use that to springboard something. Well, at the time, really, virtually every festival wanted a domestic premiere or an international premiere, and part of the fine print of that was that it couldn't have been online.
Right.
Now, if you're creating a web series, that doesn't really help you. So either you would have to withhold and not put your web series on the web for the festival circuit, which is counterintuitive.
Right.
Or we needed a Webfest.
Right.
So, and at the time, I think there was like one in LA, but I was thinking to myself, I was like, one is really not enough. Yeah. And also, how cool would it be if the second one that there were wasn't in New York, but was in DC? Mm-hmm. If DC got to, kind of jump on that,
right.
and and get that sort of feather in its hat. So that was really what I was trying to do. I really wanted a platform for us. I felt like there was a need, and I really wanted to put DC on the map.
Awesome. So explain the idea behind Orange Juice in Bishop's Garden, because it is the longest continuing running web series online. How did you come up with the idea? Where did that kind of all happen?
Sure. It started as my graduate thesis project. Like I was saying, I was really interested in new media and kind of wanted to see where that was going.
Right.
So I wanted my thesis to reflect that interest. So my thesis was that project, and it ended up getting picked up for distribution and becoming this thing that not only did I write, but at the end of it, it kind of felt like it had written me, and there was this whole group of us that it had, whatever decade we had that last decade, we
right.
didn't experience because we relived the 90s, because it's about teenagers growing up in DC in the 90s. So super DC focused. And in particular, I think what I really wanted to do, aside from just focusing on new media, was I felt that so much of what you see in filmmaking is sequels or remakes or not particularly diverse, and that at this point in filmmaking, the margins have become so large that it's virtually the whole page. And I was like,
right.
well, when do we get to look up at the screen and see ourselves?
Yeah.
And wouldn't that be really awesome if we could do that?
Right.
And I wanted something that kind of represented my experience of growing up and the kind of people that I knew, the kind of people who while very real, interesting people, I just never really felt like when I went to the movie theater, I ever saw them get the screen time that they deserved. And I think we crave those stories. So that was what I really wanted to explore with that.
That's awesome. So how do you, how do digital filmmaking and DC go hand in hand? Like, how does location influence the type of web series or films that you see coming out of the industry?
Well, first things first, I think the DC has some of the most amazing locations, just hands down.
Yeah.
Like, the raw materials here are just stunning. So that always works in our favor. But I will say that as much as I love doing what I do here in DC, part of what's really cool about this move to, media over IP is that you can do this anywhere.
Right.
You could do this in a small town in Kentucky, and it's not just a New York, LA market anymore. We're seeing this democratization of media, which I am so struck by and really appreciate and I'm so happy for. And I think something that we've seen with the Webfest as well is that our submissions, yes, we're locally focused and we love DC, we have hometown pride, but we're also seeing content from all across the globe, just from all kinds of international countries. So this is really something that is just growing at an astronomical rate, grassroots and otherwise.
That's awesome. So what's one thing, if you had to just kind of sum up DC Webfest in one word, what is one thing you would want someone to know about it that they've never heard of it before?
So I think one thing that I would really want for them to know about it, I think in particular, I want them to know that DC is not just a springboard to get to New York or LA. That DC is a destination in its own right. And that a big part of that is the fact that we have a lot of talent here that we're focusing on, but we also have a lot of talent, like I was saying, from all over the globe, Germany, Australia, what have you. All of that work is submitting here to be shown here.
Right.
This is becoming an international destination, and I think that's really key. And not just a destination, but also a market. People are coming here to look at this work, to pick it up for distribution.
Right.
And I think there are some other web series at this point, but I think the fact that we are creating a burgeoning market is something that I'm really thrilled about, and I think it also sets us apart. I also think it's important and nice in some ways. Sometimes I think in new media, people either, aren't really sure what it is sometimes,
right.
Or sometimes people in new media feel like the awkward,
right.
like lesser stepchild. And I think that a big part of this is to say that we have arrived.
Right.
We are at this gorgeous location, the Carnegie Institution for Science, that is one of our sponsors, and I'm so delighted that we're going to be there. This is really like a high quality event to show that this isn't just the the awkward stepchild, that this is a fully fledged, amazing new art form that is taking off.
Right. It's like its own medium, and that's what is so important. So where do you see digital filmmaking where do you think it's going to be in 5 years?
Well, there's a quote that I really like, which is the job, let me see if I can get this right. The job that you want hasn't been invented yet.
There you go.
So I would love to see what's going to happen, but it hasn't been invented yet. I would love to see the same movement towards this democratization of media. That I think would be really, really key. I'm hoping that at our festival right now we have web series, we also have interactive games, video games, and apps, and I'd love to see all of that expanded more. I think just the realization that this is all storytelling, right, and that's really what unifies all of us, and to see that growth in storytelling. But yeah, I think the jobs of the future that we want haven't been invented yet, and I can't wait to see them be invented.
That's awesome. So where is your favorite location to film in DC? Do you have a particular plot that you always go to?
I have so many favorite locations. So many favorite locations.
Give me 3.
I kind of like to keep them a secret.
Oh,
so that
okay. All right, fine.
But no, I can tell you some that I love that are just immediately sort of visible from the work that I've done. Number 1, I absolutely adore Bishop's Garden. I also think that the Uptown Theater is great.
Yeah.
The C&O Canal is just stunning. And also some of the murals around Truxton Circle make for a great backdrop. So that's like a top 4.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any advice for DC residents who want to start making films digitally? Like, how is the best way to get started in this if this is something that interests you?
Honestly, just start. And I'm not, there's more to it than just start. But I would say do not feel intimidated or lessened if you don't have the fancy gear. Go out there with your iPhone, just practice your craft. You know, your iPhone, if you have one, is shooting HD.
Right.
The consumer pro market has really opened up a lot of the editing and, you know, just all kinds of other software. So I would say just get out there. Don't be worried if you don't have the coolest gear. Don't feel weird if you're working with your friends and your family. If those are your cheerleaders and if they support you, then absolutely you always want the people who support and understand you around you. You know, don't think that that makes you unprofessional to be working with family and friends. And don't feel that it makes you unprofessional if you're honing your craft with your phone. All of these things build all of these things build together into creating like this skill that you just cannot deny. So that's what I would say is, you know, never be ashamed or feel like it's too small potatoes.
Okay, awesome. And what do you think is, you know, I mean, well, you kind of already answered that one. What kinds of web series or films are you seeing coming out of the industry? Is it more based on, you know, people's lives, or is it more narrative focused? How does that work?
So I think right now I'm seeing some trends in definitely genre trends. Science fiction and speculative fiction is always like pretty big. I would also say that a lot of comedy, like sketch comedy or comedy where the director is also the lead actor, there's a lot of that. And also I think we're seeing some influence from the sort of millennial urge to watch YouTube videos. We're seeing a lot of how-to videos as well, so the how-to movement is pretty big as well, but really it runs the gamut from comedy, drama, all kinds of genres, really just everything. This Saturday, March 5th, at the Carnegie Institution for Science, which is downtown by P and 16th. There's our lovely poster. And it starts at 6 p.m. We have, again, just amazing work from all across the globe and gaming stations where you can actually try out a lot of these games and apps, as well as see all of our official selections. We have some amazing corporate sponsors like OCT FME, as well as some great food sponsors who are going to be feeding us delicious things like Sweet Green and Pizza and Bucks Fishing and Camping. So we're all going to eat really well. And then there's a raffle going, which is really nice. In particular, Final Draft, the software company, is just giving out so much software, in particular for students, which I think is always really nice to give back to the students. We also have Taco Rian is giving some gift cards out. But in terms of the Final Draft connection, something that I really want to mention with that too, the way that we're trying to come together to promote and inspire young filmmakers and students. We're doing a lot of outreach with local area universities and also the high schools, Duke, Ellington, and Field. So we're really trying to make sure that, yes, this is an international destination. We want people to come here, but at the same time, DC is our home and we have real hometown pride. So we're trying to, you know, grassroots and raise up all of the amazing talent that is here.
Awesome. So this is perfect. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate you spending this time with us talking about Webfest. And I hope everybody shows up on Saturday because it's going to be amazing. You can still get tickets, right, on the website?
Yeah, you can still get tickets. It's dcwebfest.co /tickets.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much.